Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
It's always good to be seen, and it's the last day of the year, 15 hours until 2021, everybody.
The day before the new year.
Wow. Well, I don't know. It's not been a bad year. It's been a different year. And, we need to learn from the past so we can make the future better. And I think this year, that's what we're going to do. I think we have a plan.
Well, and that's the beginning of your business planning class that we wrote together, is looking back at the past. What can we learn from that? That's the first piece of that business planning course. How do we get where we are, and what did we learn from that? First piece, assessing.
Exactly. And, I look back in the spring when Dr. Young and Brian Buffini did the show on This Too Shall Pass. I think that was the name of the podcast that he did. And he talked about what he believed was going to happen by the end of the year with real estate. And that when he predicted what was going to happen, it was in the months when we were in the red, meaning that we weren't keeping up with last year. Mm-hmm. And for him to be able to predict that we were going to be within 5% of 2019 at the end of 2021, to me is brilliant. Mm-hmm. To have that much foresight and vision and confidence in the market, even though the naysayers were everywhere. I applaud him and also, of course, Brian Buffini, who uses people like him to build his business. So it's important that you have people around you that you believe in. Mm-hmm. And this year we're 98.4% in Las Vegas of 2019. So, that's like almost a home run. We almost did it.
With 2 months shutdown.
Yeah, right. With 2 months shutdown. And we only have 1.2 months of inventory, Jimmy, and scares me half to death. So yesterday we listed 63 homes, thank goodness, but we closed 145.
Wow.
And we put 91 under contract. We're going to continue to, our inventory is going to continue to go down if we don't list more than we sell. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying keep selling, but we need to list too. Scary numbers for me, scary.
Well, definitely all the people have been sitting on the sidelines. It's January as of tomorrow. And if they've been waiting, it's time to call them up and say, look, you know what? You had made a comment that you're going to wait. It's the new year. And here's where we are.
And all the houses that we have listed, that John has listed, that don't have tenants in them, have been having showings all week. Mm. So there's people out there looking to buy.
Right.
There's people out there looking to buy. And if you are aware of all the buyers out there, and your sellers know that if they want to downgrade, upgrade, whatever they want to do, it's the time to do it. It's mm-hmm. just the time to do it. I've had 3 conversations in the past 2 days with people that say, no, the market's going to crash. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And one of the things that I think we all need to know, and I'll be brief because I know we have to move on here, but one of the things that Brian Buffini and Dr. Young said is that the market likes division because that makes compromise. So I think going forward, regardless of the political side that you're on, one of the good things that came out that's been going on is we have a divided Congress right now, and that will bring compromise. And I think that means the good thing. The stock market loves that. The day after election, the stock market went up 500 points. Yeah. So everybody needs to feel confident that regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, regardless of what happens in Georgia, we like the compromising position we're in, because that makes people go back and forth for us. So that's what I just want to say about that.
Okay.
So let's see here. Let me. So Jimmy, where would you like to?
Both Jeremy Aguero and Brian Buffini, Lawrence Yun, both of them said the same thing you just said, and they had historical data to prove that. So it's not just your opinion. It's your opinion based on some solid research and some solid history. What did we learn from history? That's how you started today. What did we learn from the past? And we learned from the past. That's very consistent since like 1865 or something. They went way back.
They did. Yeah, they did. So Jimmy, I framed the show today, and I don't know if this fits in with what you want to talk about, but I did say, do you know the 3 legs of your business, and does your business have a leg to stand on? So, I don't know exactly what you want to talk about, but I put up here on the screen, where are you today? Where do you want to be? How will you get there? When will you get there? And what do you have to give up to achieve the end result? And I think those are some questions that everybody needs to ask themselves.
The when will you get there is the question that can bring the urgency for you. If you say, look, I want to get there next year, there's no urgency in next year. And that's why Brian does 10-day goals and 90-day goals and then 1-year goals, because the 10-day goals, that's going to get you off the dime. But if you look out further than, it's 13 weeks is a quarter. And if you look out beyond 13 weeks, it's not soon enough for us to have that urgency and that deadline looming for us. You know where the word deadline comes from. We talked about this, right?
No.
Okay, well, in the olden days, in the prisons, they would let the prisoners out in the yard to exercise, and they would draw a big circle in the dirt. And if the prisoners crossed over that line, they would shoot to kill because they were going to escape. That was the deadline actually meant, this is the deadline. You step over here, it's over. So, I'm sure it doesn't mean that today. But the fact is that question number 4, if you don't have any urgency, and that's what Dr. Yoon and Brian Buffini and the Federal Reserve and all these people have talked about, there's an urgency in the marketplace right now. Some of the sellers are feeling like, you know what, prices might crash, let me sell right now. Some of the buyers are thinking interest rates might go up, let me buy right now. Whatever they're feeling is the urgency. If we don't capitalize on that over this next quarter, we're missing a huge thing. That urgency mentality is out there right now, and we have to get people when they're ready, and they're ready right now.
I believe that. Happy New Year's Eve, Karen. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate that. Yeah, the sense of urgency. The negative thing I find is that people are worried about what's going to happen to the market, and so that sense of urgency needs to come from a positive position.
Well, the 3 scenarios, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I can understand that you're concerned, and a lot of people are concerned. That's just smart to be concerned and look at things. And let's walk through this. What would be the worst case scenario? And you let them vent all their frustrations and whatever. And then you say, what would be the best case scenario? And you walk through that. And then you say, what would be the most likely scenario? And let me give you my 2 cents worth on this most likely scenario. You have to live somewhere. Let me communicate this very clearly. You have to live somewhere. You have to live somewhere. You got to live somewhere. Now, you can stay where you are. And the other thing is, not only do you have to live somewhere, but I just can't believe that rates are going to stay where they are. Housing is going to get more expensive, either through price increasing or through interest rates going up. Either one of those, housing is going to get more expensive. If you're a buyer and you're waiting, you have to live somewhere. Am I communicating? The most likely scenario is you're going to live somewhere. And the worst case scenario is prices go up and interest rates go up and you really messed up.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, prices go up and you're already in at a low rate. That's the best case scenario. That's the best thing, but you got to live somewhere. So the most likely scenario is, let's go out and find a house for you.
So I posted in the group, I posted the podcast of bold predictions with Dr. Yoon and Brian Buffini. And I would encourage everybody to send that to your buyers and sellers. And I'm going to do that to the 3 people I talked to on John's behalf the past couple of days that are in a quandary what to do. And because we can say it, but we're inside.
Right.
But when other people outside say it, and people that are in high positions say it, it gives us credibility. If you have an Agent Formula website, that is going out to all of your database that's in your lab as well. And if you haven't put your database in your lab, I really encourage you to send it some other way then, because people need to hear this. And I think that's a great way to start off the year. Next topic, Jimmy.
Okay. I mentioned to you yesterday, I'm listening to Tony Schwartz and Jim Lair about the powerful engagement. And the first, I have like 4 or 5 points about that. The first point is a thing called periodization. It's the alternative periods of work and rest. And periodization has been studied for 2,000 years, ever since the Olympics started. I mean, we've looked at how do we train athletes, and it's mostly been studied in the athletic field. But as a business person, or as just a person, to study your periods of work and rest and manage your periods of work and rest, because time is fixed, but capacity is not fixed, and your energy level is not fixed. You can increase your energy, you can increase your capacity if you will train in a systematic way. Periodization used in your life, not just your business, not just your sports, not just, it's a holistic approach. Periodization is a holistic approach across all 4 dimensions. And Buffini talks about 5 dimensions. Another guy talks about the 8 equities. Whether you look at 4 dimensions or 5 dimensions or 8 dimensions, that's not what's critical. What's critical is that you take the time to look at those, which is what the very first bullet point on your slide here is. Where are you today? Do an assessment of where are you spending your time, what results you're getting, and where is your tank almost empty. They talk about, and Buffini talks about this in a program he did with Tony Schwartz a few years ago. And there's a 6 CD session, Lighting the Fire, it's called. And if you can get a copy of Lighting the Fire, it's worth every penny. It's one of the best CD series I've ever listened to. And he talks about the fact that you have a limited reservoir of will and discipline. We all have a limited reservoir, and everything that we do that takes some of that willpower out of us. And that's why we've talked about this before. A couple of people that we know that are very high profile, Steve Jobs was one of them. He only had 1 set of clothes in his closet. They were all the same. He would get up and he would put this on. And you had some other examples of people. Was it Tony Hsieh or somebody else you said did that too?
And Bill Gates.
And Bill Gates, just get up. Here's what I'm wearing. Boom, done. No discipline. No. Yeah. And so they talk in the book and on the audio series about rituals. Brushing your teeth is a ritual. It requires no thought. It requires no energy. It's just something that you do. Your walk in the morning is pretty much a ritual for you. Yes. It doesn't require a lot of thought. And if you miss it, you feel pulled to get back to it.
I do.
And so they talk about incremental success. Here's what I want to say. I know it's taken me 12 minutes to say this, but pretend somebody offered you a job tomorrow and it was going to pay you a boatload of money and it's going to be very fulfilling and very rewarding. You're going to be the CEO of this new company. How would you act? What would you do? Where would you start? Because tomorrow you get a chance to be the CEO of your own company. Just pretend it's a brand new slate. It's a clean slate. How am I going to manage this company, my life? And that's the name of your course. It's how to be the CEO of your life.
Right.
I mean, it's not just a business plan. Although I think it's interesting. We look at your sphere of influence first, that's what your social media, that is the lever for your sphere of influence, which you talk about all the time. That's the first thing we talk about. And we both know that's where most of your business comes from, is your SOI. So you start out with the sphere of influence in that class. And then you talk about farming, and that farming thing allows them to be an expert in some area, and it's predictable. And you can ritualize it. You know, on the 1st or the 15th or the 10th or the 25th, here's what I do in my farm. And you have a specific plan there. You have an 8x8 thing, I think, in the farm. 8 houses next, or no, sorry, 5x5. The 5x5 is when you take a listing in your farm, you have a specific system already built into the plan. The wheel has been invented. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
It's all in that class. And I don't know when we're going to be able to offer that class for credits, but I'm looking forward to getting that content out to people. And that's why I wanted to bring it up today. It's the last day of the last year. And the other systems you have in there besides the farming system, then you have the 8x8x8. So the 5x5 is when you're farm, and then the 8x8. But you also talk about farming other agents, which you have mentioned numerous times. And Buffini talked about in his last thing. He said, we're getting so many leads inside the system, and we don't even charge anything. Most relocation companies charge a boatload of money. What are you doing to build that? So you have 4 specific, definite strategies, and that's just in the first hour and a half of the class. and then I kind of bring into the part about, there's 3 dimensions. There's your energy, your time, and your results. And those are the 3 things we have to manage. We have to manage our energy, we have to manage our time, and our results. And energy comes first. And that's why you have to train in a systematic basis over those 4 dimensions, so you have the maximum energy. So when you put in the time, you can get the most results.
And can I just one brief thing? So when you manage your energy, Jimmy, you have to steer clear of distractions that drain your energy. And that's
food that drains your energy.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But fear and worry, indecision, poor health, not eating right, lack of direction, they trap you in a negative state of mind, and they derail your progress, and they steal your motivation. So you need to fuel your body with energy. I mean, we're talking real basic things though, that people get trapped in. Energy
Well,
drainers.
yeah, yeah. And food is a drug, and your everything that you do, those are rituals. The time you spend beating yourself up or whatever, the time you spend next, you can have positive rituals or negative rituals. And so when we look at these things that drain your energy, how do we turn that around? What action do we need to take to turn those things around from energy drainers to energy reservoirs and things that will improve our energy and motivate us and inspire us? And
So,
there's a way to do it.
well, one of the things is positive associations, and that's supportive people and groups. And I think that you and I tend to lead in that direction to get people to follow us
Mhm.
because we want to be supportive to people, and we want um, to to keep them positive with our associations. And I think that's really important. And then you are the end all to be all when it comes to mental intake with positive books. You're constantly giving us books to read, people to follow, CDs to listen to. I'm trying to get people to listen to podcasts and so on and so forth. So, these things increase your energy.
Well, and it might be more realistic for us to recommend the podcast because they may be more likely to do that. And that is just a way to fill up that mental space and that inspirational space. So instead of here's the deal, if you're not going to read, don't set a goal to read. You'll beat
Right.
yourself up. But do set a goal to get some inspiration. If it's coming on this show in the morning, if it's going to a podcast, just before you go to bed or whatever, but do set some ideas and set some rituals in place for that inspiration and that learning part, because learning does inspire people. You get inspired when you learn something. And if you're not going to read, and that's the same thing with exercise, the whole idea of periodization is the managing of work and rest. We are the only country on the planet that works more than the people in Japan. And they talked about that in the Power of Full Engagement. There's actually a Japanese word that says death from work.
Wow.
And they started documenting in 1969. They found a worker that just dropped over dead. He was working on an assembly line in an auto plant, and he just dropped over dead. And they figured out he'd been working 12 days straight, 6 nights in a row. And just, we need to take the time to rest and recover. And we need to take the time to make a plan so that we know where we're going. And we need to be kind to ourselves. Here's the deal. If I set a goal to exercise every day, I'm not going to make it, but I can do 4 days a week.
Right.
I can do 4 days a week.
Yeah. And just to that point, I know you read a lot. I listen a lot.
Yeah.
I read a lot of things, but I don't read books like you do. And I like to listen to what you learn, and I don't have to read them.
Cool.
But anyway, but what I do is I listen every day for 1 hour. Every day for 1 hour, I listen to a podcast or a YouTube. I listen to the YouTube. You can listen to a video.
Right.
I listen to people in social media. I listen to people for motivation. I listen to Brian Buffini. I go back into Brian Buffini's. He's got 254 podcasts, and and I just find a topic that I want to feel good about that day.
Mm-hmm.
And we have so many opportunities to stay positive and energize ourselves and manage our energy, that we need to do it. Everybody needs to listen to what we're preaching, and we are preaching, because you've got to manage your energy.
Well, and you look at also like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's not even in the real estate space, but he's inspiring, and he's a thought leader, and he talks about things that are going to get your juices flowing. Oh man, how can I apply that to my business and my real estate? Guy's inspirational. And you listen to Grant Cardone, and you're not stuck in one. That lady that you listened to the other day, she was being interviewed by some guy named Nick, who I don't even know was doing the interview. And it was a good interview, but obviously he was some type of a coach that talks to a lot of different real estate agents. I don't know what Nick's name is.
He's Nick Bailey from Remax,
okay.
and we knew him back when we were with Remax, and he was our regional consultant, and
Mm-hmm.
now he's in charge. He's pretty up there in Remax, and pretty high up there. So what I did was, Jimmy, I have the technical ability finally. Anyway, I videoed the video,
Mm-hmm.
and took and only showed her, because I didn't, and only took part of the video that I thought was applicable to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I did with Brian Buffini in the podcast of hindsight 2020. I took the part of it, 10 minutes of it, that I think people should listen to, and posted it. So anyway, getting off topic for a minute there, but yes, I listen to a lot of different things, and I just go all, I mean, I go down, sometimes it's a rabbit hole, but more than not, because it's like you tune yourself.
Mhm.
And when I see something, I think there's probably something in there. So that's just practice.
Mhm. Well, it's good to get out of the real estate space too, once in a while.
Yeah.
Jack Canfield wrote a book called The Success Principles. And one of the people that gives me an email, I get an email once a week from several different sources. And Peter Diamandis, the Abundance Insider newsletter, has nothing to do with real estate, but it's huge. That's where I learned about that vaccine thing, that they can now poke you, and with one droplet of blood, they can tell you how strong your immune system is. Should you even take this vaccine? Because if your immune system's not strong enough, they shouldn't even be giving you the vaccine. And it also tells you if you've had any other viruses, Zika or any of the other viruses, swine flu or H1N1 or whatever. So it's from one droplet of blood. And this thing, I don't know how long it's going to take for it to be commercially available. But the advances in medicine that he talks about in this Abundance Insider, they're just mind blowing. They're mind blowing, and he has nothing to do with real estate.
Right. That's pretty cool. See, you're so full of it.
Yeah.
Swear. But I love that. And so we number one, we told him you have to manage your energy, but number two, you have to write your goals and review them regularly.
Mhm.
And that's really important, because in your mind, you have to envision your ideal business and life for this year. What do you envision yourself?
Well, if you don't put your vision together with Brian Buffini and the class we start on January 15th, you're not thinking. This is a chance to associate with positive people in a room once a week for 10 or 12 weeks or whatever, for $40 a week or $50 a week it comes out to. I mean, it's almost like, how can you not go to that? If you're really serious about your real estate career and being the CEO of your life, because I'm sure Buffini will get into some of the personal side of this stuff too. And if he doesn't, I'm sure you and I will.
Yeah.
But that starts January 15th. And he's got his next podcast is what to see ahead, right? He's looking ahead at the next podcast. I'm not sure what day that is, but it's what to expect in 2021.
Yes. Yeah. So, once we can visualize where we want to be, then we need to write it down, and then we need to figure out how we're going to accomplish it. So so when you sense your strain from your target, then you can revisit your goals and get refocused. But if it's not written down so that you can pick it up and look at it, right, it's not going to happen.
Well, and I think the second piece of this is the accountability partner. I'm kind of accountable to you to get here as frequently as I can and contribute something to it. And I do have an accountability partner, and I'm not perfect with her, and I'm going to make sure that I understand. Look, if I do 4 days a week, that's a win of the week. So who are you accountable to? It doesn't have to be someone you pay. I don't pay her. She doesn't pay me. It's not a paid thing. You and I don't pay each other. I mean, this is for us to be inspired and remind ourselves, okay, here's what we're thinking about. Here's what we're talking about. Here's what we're doing, and publicly declare some things as we go through this.
Well, yeah. And then down to, like you just said earlier, you have to schedule your week. That's like tip number 3, schedule your week and start with the big rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that we like to call the non-negotiables. In other words, there's some things you have to do, yet your routine can't be pulled away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're pulled away from it, because you got a buyer or a seller, then you need to have that in front of you so that tomorrow you can get back on track.
Well, and Buffini had a default. He said when he got home at the end of the night, he wouldn't get out of his car in his garage until he wrote his notes. He said the notes were the non-negotiable for him. The notes were non-negotiable. They were sitting on his desk when he went in. He would do his notes first and get it done and get it handled. He has a win at the beginning. But if some fire broke out and he couldn't get to his notes, when he got home, he wouldn't get out of his car until he wrote his notes. He said, I don't remember what I wrote sometimes, but he said the notes were the non-negotiable for him.
Yeah, and when you have a clear view of your week, you'll restore your focus and conserve your energy and increase your productivity. And that's just so true.
Well, and that's what you talk about in the class, systems, and Tony Schwartz calls them rituals, and he talks about brushing your teeth or whatever, you're doing your walk in the morning, or your ritual of writing the notes. If you can ritualize that stuff, if you can make it, there's a whole field called automaticity, and you can get a college degree in automaticity, How can you make this automatic so it doesn't require will and discipline to get it done? It's just what you do.
And you know what, when you look back on your week, which you need to do,
Mhm.
you'll feel empowered because of the things you accomplished, or motivated to do better next week because of the things that you didn't accomplish. And if you're around all those positive people and managing your energy, and reviewing your goals, this becomes your ritual. And you start feeling better and better all the time because you know that by the end of the year, you're going to achieve what you want to achieve.
And what we're talking about, Buffini modeled excellently on the last video that you had us watch on the show here, where he talked about, here's what I learned from last year. We had to put a championship horse down. Now, I don't know how much those horses cost, but I know they're gazillion dollars.
Yes.
And he said that we had some ugliness happen. We had some this and some that, and he saw the pain. But then he also said, but we also got more content done in a better, higher quality way. He said, he moved from here's what ugliness happened to
Right.
here's what we got done. And he celebrated his achievement just by telling us what he did. His partnership with the NAR. I mean, those are big rocks for him.
Big. And he talked about, Shakespeare, what Shakespeare did during the plague.
Yeah.
Well, he wrote King Lear, he wrote Macbeth, he did all those things. And Buffini did the same thing during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, he finished 100. I don't think that 100 Days to Greatness was on his plate for this year to finish. But because of the pandemic, and because he made it a goal, he accomplished that. And he also got, the advanced done too, because I think that was coming out in January.
Yeah.
But he got it done ahead of time. And then he started on, a few other things that he's going to share with us. He's going to keep going. I just see him as becoming one of the greatest coaches of our time. He is so dedicated.
There's a guy named P.D. James. There's a quote from P.D. James, and he says, you know what? God gives every bird his worm, but he doesn't throw it into the nest. So pretend you were offered a new job starting tomorrow as the CEO of a new company, and they were going to pay you a boatload of money, and you were inspired by the work, and then you're going to be around people you really like. What would you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? How can you bring more to the table for this new job that you start tomorrow? Think about that today. Make your plans, write it out, get some input from people you trust and you value their opinion, and work with them. It's one teaches, two learn. One teaches, two learn. You and I both pick up ideas. You're getting ready. I know you spend at least probably 2 hours getting ready for the show every day.
Yes. Yeah.
And we do a 30-minute program, but the 2 hours you get ready for the program helps you get inspired too.
Oh, absolutely. It does. It does. And when I was getting ready for the show today, I think that I wanted to just share with people that our class, Be the CEO of Your Life, starts with your personal life and your personal life and your budget and where you spend your money and your time. So that's just a preview of what we're going to be able to do during the class and this is going to be like homework. I mean, people have to do the personal budget. And Jimmy, my thought was, and you can tell me how you think about this, that the people that sign up for our class, Be the CEO of Your Life, we send out I have these 3 spreadsheets. I have the personal budget, your business budget, and then your profit and loss for the year. And we send it out to everybody before the class.
Mm-hmm.
And so because if you're taking this class, you got to be serious about it. And to be serious about it, you've got to know what your money is first and your goals are. And then the class will have a good result for you.
Right. I'm sure you may have seen the interview that Zig Ziglar and Brian Buffini did together. And Zig Ziglar said, the one thing I have always taught about setting goals, but I've never actually made them do the goals. He said, if I could change one thing, I've seen what you do, because if you go to Buffini's events, they make you sit down and they make you actually write out your goals in the thing. What's it going to look like 10 years from now, next year, whatever. And they spend time and they put on some Baroque music and they make you do the work. Right. And this home budget that you have up here, that now we're at business budget, but the home budget, if they've never done one, it's intimidating. But if they sit in class, they say, well, give me your best guess for this. Give me your best guess. Let's see how far off you are. And just make them actually fill in the numbers. Right.
Yes.
It's like when we did the cap rates class, we gave them an NOI, an APOD, and we said, let's just walk through the numbers. Let's pretend. And then now you've done it once. It's a lot easier the second time.
I think that this Be the CEO of Your Life class 1 that we're doing will become a series, because I think that it will dovetail with 100 Days to Greatness and the other things that we know to help people be successful. And in a classroom setting where you can really get up close and personal, so to speak. And then I want to give them the monthly business budget, so that you know what what are your expenses, and we can teach people how you reverse engineer this. People say, well, I don't know what my expenses are. Well, I can tell you. Do you pay for your personal notes? Do you pay for your items of value? Do you buy pop buys? Do you use gas in your car? I mean, you reverse engineer how much money you want to make based on how much it costs you.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And most people don't look at it like that, but we're going to teach them how to. And then then once they do that, Jimmy, we're going to show them the profit and loss.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's everything that your business brings in. Here's how much it costs you, and here's your net profit and loss before taxes. And
And as a business broker, if somebody says they want to sell their business, you say, let me see your financial statements. And that is your balance sheet and your profit and loss. And if you tell them, well, I don't have a P&L, how can I sell your business?
right.
If you don't know the numbers, how can we put this on the market? You need your balance statement, and we don't get into that. But the profit and loss that's the second piece of the financials.
Yes. Yeah. And so that gets back to the things that we started out with.
Mhm.
Where are you today?
Mhm.
Where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? And what do you have to give up to achieve your result? So that's basically, to me, the objectives of the class is to help people get their mind right, get their mindset right, and get into that becoming the CEO of their life.
You had me listen to the podcast by that John and whatever her name is, that relationship podcast that Buffini did.
Yes,
The Grit.
grit.
And
the Gordons.
Yeah, the Gordons, the resolution and investor. They said, be an investor, not a consumer, and do it together. And they had some principles in there, but one of the principles that they had in there was you have to spend the time. Are you? How important is it for you to succeed in your business? I will know the true answer to that when I look at how much time you've spent on working on your business, not just in your business. If you're working on your business, it's really important to you. If you're just taking buyers and sellers out and that's all you're doing, having a business is not really what's important to you. It's making a few bucks. It's different.
Right. And Jimmy, I know you have to go, but I want to do one more brief thing, because I told people about the legs of their business.
Mm-hmm.
And does people know what the three legs are of the stool?
Sales and marketing is first.
Yeah.
It's the most important. You have the financial management and you have the actual doing the work, the customer service leg. But that sales and marketing that's a big deal.
Right. That's where you make your money.
Yeah.
You have tasks and then you have a job.
Yeah.
And so you have sales and marketing, you have your financial management, which we just went over a little bit of, but the definition of marketing is promotion and advertising, networking, and lead generation for your business. Customer service is creation, production, and fulfillment, of your product or service to your customer. So that includes operations, logistics, and administration of your business. And then the financial management, we just discussed that. But sales and marketing is really the major part of it.
So my 9:30 is here. I am going to go, but I do want to tell you, I'm going to send you page 1 of chapter 9 of the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And on page 1 of chapter 9, he talks about in my opinion, the most important principle in that entire book. I'll just scan it and I'll send it to you later today, and you can look at it and see what you think. Maybe you can use it.
Love it. Love it. Okay, Jimmy. Well, I see you tomorrow.
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I think
so.
A
surprise.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to a great year. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Karen. Thank you all who support me and Jimmy all the time. It gives us oxygen, which is our fuel. Thank you. Love you all. Bye-bye. And be careful tonight. Happy New Year's Eve.